If you have blinked and somehow it's already May and you have no idea if you're on track to hit your goals, you're not alone. And you're also not behind. But you need to do one thing this week and do it quickly. I'm Melissa Franks, your host of the Optin Podcast. This is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. And you might be thinking, it's May. Why are we having this conversation right now? Melissa, you normally talk to us at the end of second quarter about how to take a look at where we are, and we've still got 6 months of the year left, and let's get it going. Well, around these parts, we like to be prepared. And May is the month that gets you ready for the summer season. That's right. It's like summer. You know how there's like Christmas Eve? You know, people say those things. This is kind of like summer Eve, so to speak, if you want. And May is where you have an opportunity to make sure not only that your year is on track, but that you are set up to go into the summer months and be able to have the summer that you are hoping and expecting as a business owner, and that your business can continue to perform while you're not there. Let's think about where we are in the year just for a minute. You just finished taxes in March and April. You got all of that out of the way. I know some of you filed extensions. It's a strategy anyway. Let's pretend, suspend belief, your taxes are done. And like I just said, June is summer. So like May is the in-between. I just finished a stressful season as a business owner, and I'm about to go into vacation mode. This is the only month that you have between those two identities where you can take stock of what's happening, course correct, or put some gas on the fire and get it moving. For most founders, summer is kind of a cliff that they don't see coming. What ends up happening is that your business just slows down and pauses, and it's not because you did it on purpose, it's because it's life. The people that work in your business take vacations. You take vacations. You have early afternoons and you get a little bit of cabin fever, and before you know it, your business is slowed down. You stop hiring and you'll worry about it in the fall, and you're not seeing as many sales come through the door for whatever reason. You just kind of blame it on the season and say, I'll catch up when you get back. And then all of a sudden it's September and you have just a few months of the year left and you are stressed. May is not a coast month. It's a setup month, so you don't experience that. So one of the first places that we're going to start is we're going to be talking about the numbers that you need to be looking at. I am a broken record with all of you. Data, data, data. Look at your numbers, understand, use data to tell you what happened in the past and predict what's going to happen going forward. So these are the things that I want you to look at right now. I want you to look at your actual revenue and how does that compare to your plan? What percent are you to your goal? In some cases, you may not have a plan. You may have a big number. I'm going to hit 5 million this year. I'm going to hit 7 million or 10 million or 1 million. But how did you plan to get there? How much money did you plan to make every single month in order to get to that big goal? If the answer is, I didn't really think about it, stop. Right now, take stock. You have 4 months of data. So how much have you actually done in the first 4 months of the year? And what if you did exactly that same number for the next 2/3 of the year? Do you get to your goal? That's the best way to look at it. Then you can figure out what your goals are by month, and like that doesn't account for seasonality. So if you're a business that has a huge holiday season, then of course those numbers aren't going to look quite right, but it's going to give you an indicator if you haven't built a plan by month, how you're doing towards your goal overall. What you also want to be taking a look at is your gross margin trend. And just pay attention. What was it in January? What is it in April? Is your gross margin going up? Is it going down? What's it look like overall? Pop the hood. What's happening with our expenses? Are they increasing? Is our margin decreasing as a result? What's going on? Pay attention to your cash on hand. How much runway do you have? Can you afford for the business to slow down? Can you afford for the business to take a little bit of a break? Are you good? Or do you need the business to incrementally be growing? And if you do, then how can you set yourself up for success now? Think about your pipeline coverage for Q3. What are you expecting to have happen with Q3? What does that look like? And how are you going to ensure that what happens over the summer feeds the expectations that you have for the third quarter? And lastly, understand what your team capacity is. Get really, really clear right now in May. Who's taking time off? What does the PTO calendar look like? Some businesses don't work Fridays in the summer. Is that you? What are you going to do about that? Are there hiring gaps? Are you going to be running with a leaner team? Do you need to bring in some contractors? How are you going to train them and when? What's that going to look like? Who's going to be managing who while you're out of the office? Pay attention to team capacity so that you know what the summer looks like. And you may be thinking right now, it is the beginning of May. I'll worry about that later. I'll check on that later. That is the most expensive thing that you can ever say. Delaying a decision, delaying analysis, avoiding looking at the stark facts, that's going to cost you later, and you just don't know how big the bill is going to be. It is always better when it is top of mind. I should really take a look at how our revenue is doing versus plan. I should really get an understanding of who's taking time off this summer. As soon as you think it, do it. Because then you have information. You have information for which you can make decisions. You're making decisions in your business every single day. And if you are not making decisions from an informed place about what the future is going to look like, then you are handcuffing your business. You are stalling growth. You won't realize it now. You will realize it later when it's really, really painful. So stop saying to yourself, I'll just worry about it later. I'll check it later. I'll figure it out later. Do it now. You're thinking about it, do it, get it done. You'll be so much happier and you'll make better decisions because of it. So what you want to do right now in the middle of Q2 is you really want to take a look at your plan versus what's actually happening. And 3 questions that you can ask yourself are, what worked in Q1 and Q2 so far? What broke? What did I avoid? The reason this is important to ask now is because you have time to act. I am having not 1, but 2 all-day in-person strategy sessions with clients this month. One of them is happening literally right as you hear this podcast. The other one is happening the following week. Why? Because they know with 1 quarter's worth of information, that they can now make informed decisions about what to do with the rest of their year and their business. It's the perfect time. It's a little bit quiet. Everybody's around for them to be asking these questions. What worked in Q1? What is working so far in Q2? What is broken? What's not working? What's keeping me up at night? What am I avoiding? And get it sorted out now. The honest math on whether your year is still possible needs to happen now. You need to count the chickens before they've hatched, right? You need to just look at your goal and say, based on the trend that is currently happening, can I get there? And if I can't, then what do I have to change? What do I need to do right now in order to move the needle so I can get closer to that goal? I want you to think for a minute about what happens when you don't have clarity around the progress that you're making. And it can go one of 2 ways. We had one client that when we did this exercise with them, they were feeling like they were behind. And then when we actually went through the mechanism itself, we realized not only were they ahead, they were so dramatically ahead that they were about to hit a brick wall. That brick wall was that they didn't have enough staff to fulfill the things that people were buying. They had created a total disaster for themselves and hadn't even realized it because they weren't tracking any data. On the flip side, we worked with one business that did not go through this exercise. And when we came in the early 4th quarter, they were behind. They were so behind, they were about to go bankrupt. And so what did we have to do? Build tactical plans to maximize the holiday period. We were able to do that and save the business, but it was all hands on deck. We were scrambling. We were fighting for our lives. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't need to call us in as a SWAT team to fix your problem at the end of the year so that you can keep your business into the following year. If you pay attention now and you build the appropriate plans to get to your goal, you do so with less stress, you do so with more certainty, and you don't have these swings of the pendulum where you get yourself into a pickle that you find it really hard to get out of. The challenge that I want to put in front of you is that there is one bottleneck in your business right now, and that is something that I can't tell you what it is. It's something that you know with certainty what it is. And if you go hunting, you're going to find not just one, you're going to find 5, 6, 7. You're going to find an underperformer. You're going to find something that you want to fix and change. One of the things when we start looking around in our business is we start to find all of the broken toys. All of them. And we decide that we're going to throw them all out and buy new ones, or we decide that we're going to fix them all simultaneously and then nothing gets done. So once you kind of do this plan review versus actual, then I want you to go figure out what's getting in your way and just find one thing. And so this is going to require you to spend some time saying, if I solved one thing really, really well, what would be the massive unlock? Don't solve for the thing that's easy. Solve for the thing that's going to get you closer to your results faster. And the reality is that you are time constrained. The reality is that where there is a bottleneck, it's generally there because it's going to take effort from you to solve. There is generally a bottleneck because you have some control issues. There is generally a bottleneck because you know you need to have a hard conversation. We have had a variety of clients that we have been working with, and every flavor under the sun. One business had a bottleneck because they had somebody in a role that was not qualified to do the role anymore. The needs of the business had changed, and so we needed to do some restructuring. And nobody wanted to have the conversation. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to say, hey, how you're showing up here, the work product that you're producing, the things that you're doing isn't what we need. We need something different, and we need a different skill set. And so it doesn't mean you don't have a place here. It just means that your role is going to change and we're going to bring somebody in that can do it. We've had that conversation 3 times over in 3 different businesses in the last week. And it was something that was true 6 months ago. And it wasn't until we shined a flashlight on it, we said, you cannot grow, you cannot get out of your own way, you cannot get unstuck until you fix this, that the fix started to happen. There are other businesses where we have been working, and the obvious thing was you need to hire somebody to do that. You need to go spend money. You need to go bring somebody in. You need to stop doing it yourself, and you need to have somebody else do it. And that then creates a ton of anxiety around, I don't have time to train them. I don't have time to manage them. It's just faster if I do it myself. And the reality is it is not. You are slowing the growth of your business. You're doing a crappy job. You are not setting a good example for your team. And you are tying yourself with handcuffs behind your back. So I want you to consider that right now, today, you know what the bottlenecks are. Right now, today, you can identify exactly where there are problems where either you are in the way or somebody else on your team is in the way, or not solving a problem is getting in the way. And the most common bottlenecks that you're going to see at this time of year are your bandwidth. You are doing too much and not of the right things. It's that you are not looking at data at all. You don't have reporting. You don't have predictive analysis. You have no idea what's happening in the business. You're going by gut feel and what your bank account balance says. Or it's that your sales pipeline is not going to carry you through summer. It's that you do not have a sales model. You do not have a marketing strategy. You do not have a sales mechanism in motion that's going to get you through whatever comes up this summer. And so you've got to figure out, if you don't have one of those bottlenecks, what yours is, because I guarantee that you have one. The best way to spot bottlenecks, and this is not sexy, it's to do a time audit. It's really the best way. How are you spending your time? How are your people spending their time? Look for redundancies. Look for wasted time spent. Look for where all of your time is going and figure out if you can solve it some other way. Look for the efficiencies. Do a time study first, then pay attention to how people are spending their time, and then you will find the bottleneck that you need to fix in order to move closer to your goals. So if you think about what you need to do now to summer-proof your operations, what you need to do now in order to be ready for half of the team to take the summer off, for everybody to not work on Fridays, for you to be able to take an afternoon at the beach just because you feel like it. If you want to be able to summer-proof your operations, there are 4 things that you need to lock in and get done before June. 1, you need to ensure that you have a sales motion and mechanism so that your pipeline runs without you and runs with the people that are supposed to be generating sales. The second is that you need to establish a cadence. This could be that you need to create the reporting, assign ownership, and then establish the cadence to be looking at these metrics weekly. You need to build into the business DNA that we look at numbers and we look at them often so we can steer and make decisions. And we look not only backwards, but we look at how we're predicting movement forwards. You need to build a coverage plan for PTO and vacant positions. You need to figure out how you're doing resource management and staffing. You need to make sure all of your bases are covered. You need to make sure that there isn't a function that's left stranded on an island without anybody sitting in it. And you need to have a clear goal for the summer months that everybody can rally around and understand. It may be that you keep the business running steady state with excellence, and that's it. Maybe you have a stretch goal to actually grow in the summer. Maybe the summer is your busy season, and so you've got goals associated with that. Whatever it is, you have to establish a summer goal so that the team can rally around it, so that when you're not there, they understand what they're working towards. This is incredibly important. And then I want you to pick which day of the week makes sense. I want you to install kind of this cadence for yourself within the business where you spend an hour, maybe it's 45 minutes, depends on the complexity of your business, where you just look at the numbers. You set the priority for the upcoming week. Do it on Friday, do it on Monday, do it the weekend. I don't care when you do it. You identify if there's any bottlenecks that have cropped up that you need to overcome. And you communicate that loudly to the organization. They know how you're doing towards your goals because you're communicating numbers. They know what the priorities of the week are. They know what we're focusing on to resolve bottlenecks if that's a thing. You don't need a new strategy. You just need a rhythm for which you can operate in, a cadence of communication so that they understand these are the things that I'm looking at every week. This is how I'm determining how we're doing. And then this is what I'm going to communicate to you and the actions I'm going to ask and the delegation that I'm going to make as a result of those things. This is a standard operating procedure for the business. I'm the owner. I look at stuff. I take decisions. I make recommendations. I steer the ship. I set the priorities. This is where when you get this rhythm in place, it will carry with you past summer. It will be the way that you look at the business going forward, is how you will lead the team and make decisions about what you want to do and how to move once you set it in place. And listen, this whole methodology in the super short podcast, because I want you to have time back to go do this right now, quite frankly, it's probably the shortest podcast I've ever recorded. I want you to really take this time right now to assess your business. I have 2 clients that are very lucky that we're going to be doing that live and in person with their teams, and we're going to figure it all out and do all of this stuff. But if you aren't one of those 2 clients and you want to do it, here is your blueprint. Now, of course, we cover a lot more than this during the strategy calls, or the strategy sessions in general. We do some of them virtual, we do some of them in person, but this is the basis. What happened in the past? What do we want to continue to do? What do we need to stop doing? How far away are we from our goal? What do we need to do about it? What does the data say? Who's getting in the way? Who do we need to hire? Whose role do we need to change? Who's not performing, right? These are all the conversations that we're having. And when you're in your business alone, when it is just you and then some doers, it's really hard for you to have this conversation with yourself. I'm speaking from experience. I would love to hire myself right now to run the business because I know how important and valuable it is to be doing these reviews, to look at this information, to make the adjustments, to make the hard decisions, to get out of your own way. I'm living it alongside you, so I speak both from experience as a business owner as well as experience working with small business owners all the time. This is important work for you to do, and doing it now is going to allow you to have peace of mind as you go into a season where you're distracted and you have other things that you want to be doing. Looking at the numbers in May is the hardest moment of the year because you feel like you haven't had enough of the year yet to predict what's going to happen, and you also know that the summer is going to slip away before you know it and you're going to have barely any time to react. But what you gain, if you look at it right now, is a real shot at making your goals for the year. You gain having the summer that you want to have with the breaks and the rest and the adventures and the vacations. You're able to take faster decisions, and you're not going to be scrambling in the fourth quarter. You're not going to have that fourth quarter stress. Are we going to do it? Are we going to make it? Are we going to hit our goals? Is everything going to happen? You're going to have a calmer year as a result of stopping and pausing right now and taking stock of what's happening and make some different moves. So I want you to invite you to go back through this podcast, listen to the structure again, figure out exactly what you need to do in your business, what you need to look at, what decisions you need to take, and then implement these rhythms. And heck, you know what? You can do this audit whenever you want. It doesn't just need to happen in the middle of May before summer happens. You can do it anytime. It works always. But if you build a consistent rhythm in your business where you're doing this on a frequent rotation, then it's just a way that you do things. And it will help ensure that you stay on track to your goals. It will help ensure that you see problems before they happen. It will help ensure that you're staffed appropriately, you're having hard conversations, you're taking the key decisions. This is the grown-up way to run and manage your business. So here is some time back This podcast has to be half the length of most of my normal ones. So I encourage you to go take the rest of the time that you had earmarked for this and to do the work. Until next time, friends, please know that you are wise and you are strong and you are capable, and I believe in you.